Scorpio, welcome to your September 2016 general tarot reading. Well, it looks like it's going to be a good month for you guys. Reason being, the overall theme of September is the Star card. And the Star card is the card of having your faith restored in life and maybe having your dreams come true. But there's a sense, I think, with the Star card that healing is taking place, so that implies that you may have gone through something that challenged that. But it's very sweet. It's a very sweet card. And I always brighten up when I pick it at any time. But for the overall energy or theme of September, there is something about the month that makes you think that life is on an upswing back to where you want it to be, and even like touched by the divine. Maybe you will even, because you're an intuitive sign already, being a water sign, maybe you will have a prophetic dream or just have some kind of like a message from your spirit guides or some other person who is no longer in the physical, who comes to you through dreams or some other type of divination, where you get that kind of validation, or there's that other word that means an acknowledgement that you're going to be okay and that you are healing and having that which you want to occur happen. In the recent past, you have the influence of the Queen of Pentacles. So this is another card of abundance. So it's not, you're coming from this place of mastery, and it's on the material level. So that may be something to suggest that even in August, you were experiencing a lot of good things happening to you. Now, I'm trying to, because, for instance, you've been having Jupiter in your 11th house, and so that's the house of hopes and wishes. And it will remain in this house until, I believe, the end of the first week of September. So then it goes into your 12th house, which is a very spiritual placement, maybe a little bit more subtle. But maybe in this past year, you've already had a dream that you have wanted to fulfill come to pass. And this is like kind of the finale. And then we have a solar eclipse on the 1st of September. And that's going to be in that 11th house sector too. So that could indicate that you have this new beginning, and it's a really, long-lasting, very influential event or situation that occurs that kind of is a culmination of all the things that you've been wanting. and maybe it's like your ship coming in, so to speak. So these two cards may be connected to one another, and that's really wonderful. And you see that the current, there's my pointer from Starbucks, this is for the near future, is the Four of Pentacles. This is a prudent money manager. So this can also relate to legacies, if I'm not mistaken, like, inheritances, which your sign, Scorpio, rules the 8th house, which is other people's money. So in general, your sign is associated with that. But it could be just your own money, but there's like I'm getting for the past and the near future, the Pentacles energy. So there could be like financial gain that is occurring or has recently occurred, and maybe the Four of Pentacles is indicating you managing that windfall, or that the money that you got. And also it could relate to any kind of property matters or career issues that Pentacles can relate to career. So that may be something that is happening. The Four is a stable force. So whatever is going on, you are really, I think, feeling financially secure at this time. For those of you who may, have love issues happening, it could be that you have found somebody, and this card is indicating a stable foundation for a very, a relationship that is, long lasting, not something that, a reliable relationship, something that has a future to it, not something that is like an affair. So, this can indicate you being by yourself, and somebody who is very, well, it's not so much by yourself, but somebody, I guess because a lot of the people watching this will be women. So I think of a woman who is self-sufficient financially, and that is important because, traditionally women have relied on either two incomes or their husband's income if they were staying home with the children. Now, obviously, things have totally changed, but, the tarot, was created at a time when women were more of an economically dependent group of people. So when I see a queen and when I see pentacles, I think sometimes of single mothers, people who have to be the sole breadwinner in their house. Maybe you are married and you're still the breadwinner. Maybe your husband or partner is out of work, and so you are being strong, but you're able to do so. Even in the future, there's that sense of stability, regardless of what's happening. Now, for the higher perspective, we have the Ace of Wands. So this is kind of telling you that you have transitioned somehow into a new phase. Now, this could be for your career, because the wands can relate to creative endeavors, and this includes your own businesses or a career that you've worked on. But it could also indicate a new relationship. This relationship will be very passionate. So that is kind of interesting, because it does contradict what I am talking about with this card. This is something to do with almost like an affair energy. So what that tells me is that maybe you are by yourself, but you are also financially secure. And this may mean that you're not in a headspace where you are desperate and saying, oh my gosh, I have to find somebody because I don't have my own enough to sustain myself. So this is saying that in addition to everything that you have financially, maybe something on the romantic level will come along and it'll be very passionate. It could be with a fire sign or somebody who has a fiery temperament. Maybe they have it in other areas like their rising sign or the moon sign. The fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And maybe this is somebody you already know, but maybe it's somebody that you will meet in September. But it's, you know, the thing is like if you've been feeling like you haven't been, you know, with anybody else and you were kind of wondering, the higher message is saying that, you know, change is on the horizon. What crosses you is the Six of Pentacles. So, you know, if you see the scales and this person is well off and giving to those who are less fortunate, this card could indicate that, you know, one thing that you have to watch out for is a tendency to try to buy relationships. And that doesn't sound like Scorpio, but, you know, every Scorpio is different. So this might be just a very specialized message for a few of you. Because the Six of Pentacles is about one person giving to another. But when I'm reading it as a challenge card or a reversed, I read it like a reverse card, and it will be more of an imbalance in this, and maybe even ulterior motives when being generous, because this is a card of generosity. And sometimes people are pretty economical, except when they want something. And then they will, you know, shower another person with material things or affection if they want sex, and, you know, try to manipulate the person into giving them what they want. What happens when you do this with material things is obviously, what do you attract? You attract people who are takers, people who are using you for that one thing. And then you scratch your head and say, well, oh, I stopped giving him or her money and now they're gone. I'm totally confused. But the other thing too is that if you, because I had touched upon, you know, you might being the sole breadwinner. And let's say you are a woman and the man is out of work, that may cause tension in the home. And this may just be kind of reiterating that. And there really doesn't have to be tension if you are not being worked to the bone. If you are just simply the one who is doing it and the role reversals are happening where the man isn't the breadwinner, you are, and he's staying home with children, that's not the worst thing in the world, as long as you don't throw it in his face and act like, you know, he's a failure. As long as, you know, you are respectful of this, because there isn't any reason why one gender shouldn't stay home. It's, you know, it seems to me that if you're going to spend money on childcare, sometimes it works out better that way anyhow. But it's usually the ego that trips us up. So the other thing too is it could be that you have to, this card, you know, that's something that just came to me, is that this card can indicate holding on too tightly to money. So maybe, you know, if you had something happen where you were able to, let's say, get money for whatever reason, you were able to obtain money, and this has really eased your life up quite a bit. It's easy to get attached to it and not to give. And maybe you have to kind of, you know, just energetically, if you have been gifted with something, then it would behoove you to spread the wealth in an appropriate way. It doesn't have to mean that you have to give half of it away, you know, but that you acknowledge your good fortune and pass on. What's that saying? You know, I can't think. It's first thing in the morning and I'm doing this. But pay it forward. That's what I meant. So it could be saying that as well. That you have to watch out for that tendency to just want to hold on to your money and not give. Okay, what helps you during this time? An attitude to adopt is the Seven of Cups. I wish I could like this card more. I find it very strange. And the way it's depicted in this Morgan Greer deck as well as the traditional Rider-Waite deck. But the Seven of Cups, I think in this context, would relate to options and choices. So the attitude to take is one of flexibility. You know, as a fixed water sign, you tend to be very set in your opinions and your thoughts, your ideas, especially if you have Mercury in Scorpio as well, which is a good chance that you would. So sometimes you limit yourself unnecessarily by thinking you only have one route you can go or two routes. And the Seven of Cups is saying, no, you have many different options. Even if they're not, apparent, you have to sometimes be the one to seek out your options. And with the internet, this has never been easier. If there's anything at all that you've ever wanted to do, you should definitely research it and see the viability of it for your life. Whether it's a place you'd like to live, whether it was a profession you'd like to, step into, or anything. It's just to investigate it. And the only way that you can, get into that place of being able to investigate is having the flexibility to think that, there are choices in life. And the other thing too is, I think about the Seven of Cups is not to be fatalistic and think that, life is predestined. I'm not a Calvinist. I'm not a Calvinist astrologer. So I don't, preach predestination. And and that you can only hope that you're not totally cursed and that you're going to, that your life is just, whatever bad thing it might appear to be at times, that it can never get better. Because it's very easy for fixed signs to get into ruts and start to believe it. And then, of course, with the law of attraction, it just keeps showing itself to you in that manner. And you say, see, I told you so. But all the universe was doing was being the mirror of your thoughts. Once you change your thoughts, you change everything. Okay. So the advice is the Four of Cups. This is another one of those cards that I'm not like crazy about. It's a card of meh. It's a card of feeling dissatisfied or feeling, blah about life. But you see that this person is being offered something and they're just staring straight at it. They have no interest in the offer. So a few things come to mind as advice. One, gratitude. Huge. As someone has noted, gratitude isn't about feeling desperation. When you're feeling the gratitude, you're honestly looking at things from how blessed you are. And that goes back to the Star card. That goes back to having hopeful feelings. But not desperate feelings like, oh my God, I'm so grateful that this isn't happening. That's not gratitude. You have to say what is happening that you're grateful for. When you say what isn't, I know this happens to me all the time. I'll say, oh, I'm so happy that such and such isn't happening. And then all of a sudden it starts happening. Because it's like, this is a yes-based universe. So everything has to be framed in the pro instead of the anti. But the other, possible interpretation of this card is that look at what you don't want. If you don't know what you do want, look at what you don't want, and that can point you towards what you do want. Whatever, use your emotional guidance system. And if I am getting this from Abraham Hicks, then I acknowledge them. I certainly didn't create that. But the GPS, the emotional GPS that you have will tell you how, what path to take in life. If it feels good, do it. Obviously, we're not talking about self-indulgence. I'm talking about your heart's passion. So when something feels not right and you say you're going to muscle through it, ask yourself, why are you muscling through it? Now, sometimes, in my own life, there was a time that I had to do something. I felt I had to do it, and it wasn't even logical. It was something was telling me, whether it was a spirit guide or just my higher self, something was telling me, you must go through this experience. I didn't have to. I could have not done it, but I went through it because I knew that I had to do it for whatever reason. So sometimes, and it was uncomfortable, it wasn't something that was just easy. So sometimes things that don't make you feel good are the right things to do. But don't think that you always must do something that feels crappy. Really look, and this goes for relationships too. If you are in a relationship where there is just no passion, but doesn't have to be where your ego is getting stroked and the person is just like telling you constantly, just like in a romance novel where it's just to the nth degree. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about where you generally have a meeting of minds and you do have, great appreciation for one another, instead of indifference, which really this card is about. This card is about indifference. And when you have indifference towards a person, place, or thing, that's when you know, if at one time you had a passion for it and now you don't, then you have transcended that situation. And you may be confused because everything else surrounding the situation is fine, and so it's something that you have to reconcile and you have to decide what you're going to do about. But when life leaves you feeling listless, bored, dissatisfied, it's not generating the positive vibes, the good juju, the zest for living that, is our birthright. So, definitely honor your passions and don't settle for less. When you're feeling, like something is totally a snooze fest, then you're going to have to start looking at it and seeing whether you want to continue in this manner. And that will guide you. The outcome is another Cups card, the Three of Cups. And this is a card that is really quite different from this. This is about you celebrating. So I do think some of you may have, maybe you have left a long-term relationship and you never thought that you'd have the guts. And now you're just with your friends and you're just hanging with your friends. You're not wanting to be, you're enjoying your freedom, for one thing. And that would be fantastic. For those who are in a business situation that's maybe unsatisfactory, this may be suggesting that you network. And network in a way that you're not obnoxious. Network in a very casual way. This card could be about starting your own business. So what you may do, and this is wise if you have a large friendship base, you may start with your friends. Like you could start on Facebook. If you can get 50 people together, I think you get into a different echelon on Facebook and they promote it more or something like that. I don't know. I haven't taken advantage of that yet. But it just may be business advice that you start socializing more and getting those networks, those contacts in a very organic way. Especially if your business, which I would imagine for Scorpio, is very personal to you. Like an Etsy shop where you're making things and you're putting your soul into it. Those, deep Scorpio vibes into it. I could picture some of you making witchy clothing, goth stuff, or anything mystical. But yeah, so I think that, there's a lot of good stuff happening for you in September with that eclipse too, at the very first day of the month. So Scorpio, sounds good. And if you'd like a personal reading, just click on the link in the description box. But otherwise, you have yourself a great month. Bye.